Well, welcome back. And this next section is going to be Intro to Hospital Ministry, Listening and Reading. I don't know if you ever had a class on listening and reading. I've never had one. I had to learn this stuff the hard way. They tried to teach me in kindergarten. That didn't work. Elementary school didn't work. High school didn't work. College didn't work. Probably if you've had any kind of training on being a counselor, you may have had a wee bit of this kind of training on listening skills on that. And seminars now and then, but by and large, most people haven't really learned to listen and read. But here's my hope for you. After we learn this, it might even help your marriage. Because my wife would be really happy if I would listen to her and read her, right? So would yours. Your spouse would be happy too. So a lot of these skills are going to translate into everything you do. So let's see what we can learn about listening and reading. We call hospital chaplaincy ministry the ministry of presence, meaning you show up. It doesn't mean that you need to do so much. You just need to be. Okay? Now I think a lot of us are good. Or you want a hospital chaplain to have a master's degree and 1,600 hours of clinical pastoral education and board certification, and you just want me to be? Yeah. Just show up. Now, I was explaining this to a respiratory therapist friend of mine, and he said, "Oh, what you mean, Larry, show up and shut up?" And I go, basically, in a crude kind of way. But isn't that what we need to learn sometimes? Because I don't know if you're like me, I'm task-oriented. I like fixing, doing something. In fact, I get nervous when there's silence. So when I'm supposed to just sit there and be, I'm like, can I fill your water? Can I do this? Can I get you information? And it's just trying to calm me down. Well, you know, I'm ADHD. I'm hyperactive. I've got this left-handed thing going on. I got this dyslexia thing going on. I got this male thing going on. And you want me to just show up and sit, It's like, no way. Well, I've had to learn. And so maybe some of these skills that I've had to work on can help you too. Let's talk about the routine visit. We just said a few moments ago there's no such thing as a routine visit. Now we're going to talk about the routine visit. Because every visit will be different. But there's some things in a visit that just won't change. There's some basic do's and some basic don'ts in a visit. One is always visit the nurse's station. We talked about that, just introducing yourself when you come on a nurse's floor. Introduce who you are. Get them to know who you are while you're there. The patients maybe you're going to visit, because they may say, oh, if you're going to visit them, you need to know. Or maybe they're not even on the floor now. They're not in CAT scan or MRI or in surgery, and they'll be back later. So you'll be communicating back and forth. I will talk, the next thing is hand washing. I will talk a lot about that later on today. But let me just mention it as in this list of do's and don'ts. Always wash your hands before you go in the room and after you leave the room. We'll talk more about that. Then smile. I tried to get a smile transplant one time just to kind of enhance mine, just to make me feel a little more happier. But here's two ways to go in a room. Richard was asking that a few minutes ago about how we go into the room and their presence. I could walk in the room and go, "Hi, how you doing?" And they were going, "Get away from me." I call the nurse now, handcuff you. But I could walk in there going, "Hi, I'm Larry." There's kind of two different ways, and there's a balance in between. But as I'm reading the room, I might smile more because it's appropriate, or I might be a little more solemn. Can you and your personality, if you're more prone to happy-go-lucky or too serious, can you work at it? Because we need to know ourselves. A lot of this training is need to know me and then to read the patient. Not every patient enjoys a smiling person. Some are just more solemn, aren't they? And some are like, "What's the matter with you? Come on, smile. What's the matter with you, chaplain?" So you read the room, and you're also reading yourself. Next is knock. This is protocol for all employees in the hospital. Now, I know you'll watch other employees, and they will not knock. But they're supposed to knock. Because we need to realize this is their patient room. This is their bedroom. There's no lock on that door. And the door's always open, normally. And there's people in and out, nurses, doctors, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, speech pathologists, administration, all these people. Now you, the chaplain, coming in. In fact, somebody has called the chaplain visit a divine interruption. It is an interruption, just like the nurse interrupted, the doctor interrupted. And you're going to interrupt, but it's a divine one, okay? Maybe it's restorative. It's good interruption. But you will walk in and you will interrupt their day in a good way and make a visit. But when you knock on that door, there's a protocol of what we're doing, washing our hands, knocking, introducing ourselves. It just kind of needs to flow with that, okay? Now, as I said, this is the patient's bedroom. They're walking in there and they've got this scanty looking gown on, this hole in the back. Their hair's not made, their lipstick's not on, their teeth may not be in. They might be a little more smelly than normal. They may not want you there. They may not want anybody there. I've had patients with their bed sheet up to their mouth up here, and I go, that's okay, I've seen people with that dentures. They go, yeah, but you've never seen me with that dentures. You know, and look at my hair and all this stuff. Well, just think about them being different. This is the patient's bedroom. We're going to go do ministry in a patient's bedroom. If you know of another ministry in a bedroom, I don't want to know about it. Okay? But this is ministry in a bedroom. And we need to honor them in their space. But I know how some of us, especially employees, come in like, well, this is my place. This is where I work. You're a guest in my house. We need to kind of twist that around and think, I'm a guest in your house. This is your bedroom, a sacred place. Will you keep your little stuff where you'll be here for a couple of days and then leaving? And so I'm knocking. I'm treating this like your home, okay? Not like the other employees come in like, well, this is my place, you're a guest in my house. We're treating it like your home. Then say your name slowly, clearly, distinctly. Here's how most people introduce themselves. I'm Larry Pope. What? I'm Larry Pope. Who? Now I say my name all the time. I know what I'm saying, but you can't understand. In fact, Pope is a hard to understand distinct name. When I'm on a telephone, I have to spell it all the time because it's just hard to hear. I've been called Hope and Pool and Pop. I even had a letter addressed to me as Larry Poop. Of course, I made a stink out of that one. But they don't hear it. So I really don't even introduce myself as Larry Pope because they don't hear it. Of course, then I get all kind of jokes. Most of those jokes I start myself and have fun with that. But I say, hi, I'm Chaplain Larry. If I had a hard to understand first name, I might nickname it or shorten it. So I want them to be able to repeat that, to talk about it. So I say it slowly and distinctly, hi, I'm Chaplain Larry. And then I'm, sitting down with them and making some eye contact with them. What happens in this room when I stop talking loud and I sit down and my voice lowers and changes? What happens to the mood in this room? What did you feel different? Calm. What else?
Relaxed.
Relaxed.
You're on the same level with the patient.
Same level, yeah. Didn't the scripture say something about lording it over them? We're going to get a lot of scripture here teaching here about just in this presence of what we do, how we counter it. But I could walk in with my preacher voice. Hey, how you doing today? Hope you're feeling good. Praying for you. I got this scripture here for you. And then I can just chill. But even notice how I'm sitting. I mean, I could sit back and really relax. Or I could... my posture tells something about me and how comfortable I am. I could come in really nervous. Or I could come in too relaxed. You want to talk? See the body language? that's so important. And I'm not saying there's a perfect body language, but it does interpret what we're there for. So come in and sit. You may have heard that expression, I don't have much time, so I'll stand. I'm going to shake that up. I'm going to say, I don't have much time, so I'll sit. In hospitals, we just like to test and study everything. We study medicine, we study all these kind of protocols. We have studied hospital chaplains that have stood or sat. We've told 2 hospital chaplains, now one of you will sit and you will stand, and both of you only spend 5 minutes. At the end of the day, we surveyed those patients. Those patients got to see both of those chaplains. At the end of the day, we say, which chaplain took the most time with you? Now, they both took 5 minutes, right? But which one took the most time? I think it was that blonde guy that, oh yeah, the one that sat. Every time, the one that sat took more time. Now, this could also be bad. I want to sit down. I've got a lot to talk to you about. And I get this feeling, I'm never going to get rid of Larry. Okay? But if I start it with, I wanted to spend a little time with you. I wanted to just see how you're doing, spend a little time with you. Oh, little time, that sounds good. Okay? Remember, I'm sick. I'm in pain. I'm waiting for my pain meds. I'd love to get out of this place. And you want to come in and spend 2 hours? Oh, no. No. But I interpret why I'm there, and I want to spend a little time, and I'm calming myself and my voice by sitting down, getting eye contact, and kind of lowering this kind of level. There's only one time when I might always stand and never sit. What if the patient was in the bed and they couldn't sit up? You ever see patients in ICU beds? Sometime after like heart catheterizations, and then they have to lie down flat for 4 hours. Well, if they can't sit up, what if I were sitting? Remember what I said about it's not about me? What if I was going, well, I just want to sit. I'm tired. I want to sit. And I'm sitting, and this patient can't, and they're going, Larry, I can't see you, you know. And I'm going, well, I'm tired. I want to sit, man. I've been walking all these patients out. But if I'm going, well, if it's not about me, and if it's about them, they can't sit up. So even my face is even in line with their face to make it comfortable for them. I'm going, they're more important. I'll sit later, okay? But, you know, we need to look at our own needs. Maybe I need to take a break between my visits because I am tired. You know, I need to be doing some self-care. I can't just keep pushing myself. If I need to sit, I go sit, then I make a visit so that I can be focused and attentive to them. Understand that staff will interrupt you. We call ours a divine interruption. How about when staff interrupts your divine appointment? When you go, hey, boy, we're right in the thick of stuff, we're getting this good discussion, and oh, now you're here. It's going to happen. Doctors are going to come in. Nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, they're going to come in. They're going to upset and interrupt your talk. Now, if I'm in the middle of talking about my thing, my special little topic, I'll always stop. But what if the patient is in the middle sharing something so personal, so sacred, so important? There are 2 ways to handle staff interruption. One way to handle is, okay, come on in, come on, do your stuff, you know, I'm not important kind of a thing. That's not good. You are important. Or the other way is, can you come back later? We're in the middle of something. That's not good either. Now, it might be that that patient really said something important where you might say to someone coming in, they are sharing something very important right now. Is what you need to do need to be done right now? And they may go, like a nurse may say, I have this little carrot in my hand that's time when the medicine should be done. Yes, it should be done now. So there's some little bit of a protocol that we can be ready to interrupt our talk so that someone can do their thing. Now, I may interrupt that with, how long will that procedure take? Well, about 3 minutes. I'll be right back. Or 15 minutes. I'm going to go visit another patient and I'll be back. Okay? So you kind of calculate what kind of, kind of a connection you're going to have Or maybe it's the end of your shift. Maybe you're volunteering for 4 hours and it's the end of your shift and you've got to go somewhere. So you simply say, well, I need to go. There'll be other chaplains in tomorrow. Maybe they'll get to see you. No promise that I'll get there. No promise they'll get there. But I've had a good chat with you. And you go, well, Lord, we were that far from them making a decision or that far from them praying a prayer dealing with life. And, you know, all that's in God's hands. Someone had to tell me a long time ago, Larry, you're not the Messiah and you're not Holy Spirit Jr. And things don't all stop with you. There will be somebody else that God will put in their path. Okay? But we always feel like, oh, we were right there. You know, God was helping them and they were coming to some conclusion about their life and why they were ill or their frustrations in life. And oh, I wanted to help them. What did I say again? It's not about me. Because if it were about me, I want to help them. I want to put the little tick mark on my list. I want to put the notch in my Bible that I helped them, right? Come on now, folks.
Right.
We all have this kind of thing of, you know, call it selfishness, call it pride, call it whatever you want to, but all of us in ministry have that thing. We want to be of benefit. And sometimes we want to be the one that did it. What did Paul say? Some water, some plant, some give the increase, right? So we all have a little part in that ministry, and we never know who's going to do the last little part of giving the increase. Well, another thing that we never do is never reveal medical information. Let's say I stop by the nurse's station. Hi, I'm Larry Pope, the chaplain here, and I'm visiting this patient. Oh, well, by the way, they have stage 4 cancer. Okay, glad you gave that information. So go down the room and go, hey, I hear you had some bad news. What bad news? Oh, I hear you have stage 4 cancer. I do? I didn't know. Well, the nurse just heard it. Maybe you shouldn't have told me that premature, but I should never reveal the information I know. I may say, what's the doctor been telling you? Oh, I have stage 4 cancer. And I wouldn't say, oh, I heard that. I would just go, oh. You see, I don't need to reveal anything else. Now let's go back again to what I just said about pride and selfishness. There's some of us who like to be in the know. Okay now? Are we being honest? Some of us who like to have the first word. We need to be very careful in this ministry about revealing it. Let's say even the next is giving opinions about physicians, procedures, and other facilities. Let's say a patient has a certain doctor that did a surgery on him. And I may say, well, my mom had this other doctor. She had great results from that doctor. Why would I need to tell that? Why would I need to give a preference? Let's say I had a procedure and Dr. Smith did my procedure. I really like Dr. Smith. And I say out of my mouth, the badge-wearing hospital chaplain out of my mouth, I like Dr. Smith. I think he's a great doctor. That's a good thing to say, isn't it? But Dr. Jones walks down and goes, well, what am I, chaplain? You like Dr. Smith? I'm Dr. Jones. We do the same thing. You're making a preference to that patient, that doctor's the best? I dare you. So a lot of this preference should never come out of our mouth. If you're a local minister, not wearing our badge, you can say whatever you want. And I would even say if you're sitting on the park bench or sitting on an airplane beside someone not wearing the badge, I guess you can say whatever you want. But I even protect myself. Everybody knows I work with the hospital, so Larry, you must be in the know, and you tell me Dr. Smith is the best. Or you think this procedure is better than that procedure, then you must know you work in hospitals. So a lot of these things we need to be very, very careful in how we give our preferences as we wear the hospital badge. Never argue, lecture, or counsel. Let's talk about the argue lecture. It might be that some issues come up that are very sticky, thorny, major issues with you. You know what I deal with that? I just kind of go, just listen. I was at one of our hospitals and one of our staff chaplains. Well, I was sitting with him in his office, and for 45 minutes he went on and on about his favorite theology. He never asked me what I thought. I listened attentively and with a nice little pleasant smile on my face to his theology for 45 minutes. It wasn't my theology. I don't agree with that theology. But it wasn't my place to sit in that man's office and to go, well, I think this. I practiced what I practice in the patient's room with a hospital chaplain. That's not my place to correct the boy about his theology or to say, well, I think this, because that would be about me. Now, I don't think he was appropriate in sharing that with me without going, Larry, what's your theology? Where are you coming from? You know, I think he needs to learn some lessons about appropriateness, just sharing opinions. And so I would even say, in the cafeteria, you know, in the lobby, when you're just talking, sharing life, be careful. Because they're going to go, well, I guess all the chaplains believe this. Because we do kind of represent each other when we're doing that. So as we said before, believe what you believe it strongly, hang on to it, love it, dream it. But when we're sharing in our world here, we need to be careful with those opinions. Counseling, I'm going to share more on that a little bit later about what to do about counseling. Never wear cologne, perfume, because respiratory compromise patients, if you were to walk in the room with that, and they may go, and they can't breathe. And you're going, well, I just like to smell nice. In the hospital, all employees do not wear perfume. In fact, even go beyond that. Ladies, they do not wear artificial fingernails because disease grows under that. So in a hospital, employees are not allowed to wear those things. You'll get that in your general orientation training on that. So there's just kind of some never, never, nevers to do. Then briefly, talk about your personal illness, or really, not at all. What if I'm in a patient's room, they've had open heart surgery, and I have too, and I go, yeah, I've had open heart surgery too, you know, high five, kind of identify, or I've had that gallbladder, you know. But why do we need to identify? Identification sometimes does well for us, it connects. At other times, then it just stirs up more questions. Well, then what was your doctor? Did you have complications? You know, and more and more. So more, if it's not about me, I'm not here to talk about my gallbladder surgery. I'm here to talk about you. I'm not here to tell you about all the problems I've had in life. I'm here to listen to your problems. Next is always leave on a positive note. Let's say you go into someone's room, and this rarely happens. I don't think I've had 2 times in my ministry where someone had basically kicked me out of the room, or tried to. And here's how they didn't kick me out of the room. They basically said, I'm an atheist, I'm agnostic, I don't need a chaplain. And I kind of did this thing. Okay, I'm not just a chaplain, I'm Larry. But what if that's your identity? I'm a minister. That's all I am. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to minister to you. And if that's all you are, there's going to be some patients that are going, But what if you walk in the room, just doing rounds, I am Chaplain Larry. I don't need a chaplain. Well, that's okay. I'm not just here to do the spiritual thing. How are you doing? How are you getting along? You know, what's the doctor been telling you? You know, just want to come in and just share life. I've been in those moments where they were self-proclaimed, agnostic, atheist, or whatever, went and got them a new water glass and talked about anything but politics and religion. And when they left, they were blessed. Okay? Again, I think I planted the seed that chaplains are just all spiritual people, and just that's all they can talk about. They just can't help themselves. They've got to do that spiritual thing or nothing. Maybe you can just simply talk about life with them and share the word with them. Here are some good questions to ask. They aren't perfect questions, and they maybe don't fit the kind of questions you would ask, but at least get started. I don't know about you. You may not believe this about me, but I am a very shy person. I am. My first month hospital chaplain, I've already been a pastor 17 years, I was shaking. And I was wondering, why did they hire me to be this chaplain? And my wife's a nurse, but I don't know anything about hospitals. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do. So, and because of my shy personality, I went and took a Dale Carnegie course. And basically just people skills. Now, Dale Carnegie teaches some basic things. Now, I thought, I'm not good at chit-chat. So that's basically what a chaplain visit is, chit-chat. And I'm not good at it. I don't know much about sports. I don't know much about politics. I don't know much about history. I don't really care to talk about theology all day. So what am I going to talk about? Basically, Dale Carnegie was saying you don't have to talk about those things. All you do have to ask them what they like to talk about. But why would do that? So what interests you? Where did you live? What have you done fun in your life? You know, tell me about some great vacation you've been on. And they talk, and when you leave, they go, Larry's just the greatest guy. He is such a great conversationalist. And I'm not. But I'm a good questioner, okay? I can ask good questions. And so one great question when you're starting is this a good time to visit? And what if they're in such pain or just don't feel like it? And they go, it's not a good time. Let me put your pastors in this situation. What if you travel to a hospital 1 hour away from your church office? They've asked you to come 1 hour away. You walk into that patient's room that is your friend and you ask them, is this a good time to visit? You go, I drove an hour. What did I say? It's not about me. I drove an hour. And in my car, I prepared to read this scripture and share this poem and tell this joke. And I'm going to tell it. And then when I get done, I know I've done ministry. Come on now. We sit in our car before we get out of the car and we decide what we're going to do in that room, don't we? Because we hate silence. We like a plan. But what if I go in to assess? Is this a good time? And what if I say, would it be okay if we say a short prayer for them? And I say my short prayer. Or even they say, no, I don't even feel like a prayer. And I go, I drove 1 hour. But what if I honored them? It wasn't a good time. I asked them if they wanted a prayer, and they said short prayer. I gave them a short prayer, not a sermon, and I left. Did I bless them? Did I meet their need, not my need? And so when I went away, was I successful minister? Yes. Because what did I call it? Ministry of presence. You showed up. Somebody else didn't show up, but you showed up. Okay, so you were successful. Because I didn't read my scripture, I didn't say my poem, I didn't tell my greatest joke. That wasn't success. Success was I met their need. So I'm always a successful chaplain every visit I go into because I meet their need, not because I meet my need. See the difference? A whole different mindset change when we look at success in ministry that way. I might ask how you feel today, what your doctor's telling you, where are you from, career travels, any kind of thing. You make it you. Don't take my questions. You make it you that feels comfortable for you. Fill in those gaps and read the room and see where you go from there. As I said, I was in ministry for 17 years before I became a hospital chaplain. Actually, somebody had to retrain me and untrain. I don't know if there's a real word, untrain, but they had to do it. Because I had so many denominational shackles and barnacles on me. So much of do's and don'ts, or even the fact that I was a marriage and family counselor for 7 years. I want to go do counseling. I know what their problem is. I can read it. You know, I can know what it is. So I want to do counseling. And someone had to take that kind of ministry away from me and show me a new kind of ministry. A kind of a hospital-appropriate type ministry that was totally different than what I had before. So the different kind of ministry I'm talking about is collaborating with them in what the problem is rather than confronting. It's easy for the Bible college, seminary-trained pastor when someone presents a problem. I'm thinking about divorce. I'm thinking about suicide. I don't know what my problem is. It's easy for us to go, I know what it is. And I'll tell you how to deal with it. Now, as a local minister in your church, you're accustomed to that. Your people ask you what to do, and you tell them. And that's usually appropriate because they've asked you, okay? In the hospital setting, it's a different kind of a mindset where someone presents a problem and we don't pull out the gun and we just sit back and go, well, maybe what have you tried yet? Well, I've tried this, and this, and this. Has it worked for you? Not really. And then we go, okay, well, I got the answer. No, okay, not yet. Still assessing. What do you think you might try now? And I've had one counseling session with one patient that kind of went like this. You know the difference between right and wrong? Yep. Do you know what the right thing to do is? Yep. Do you know what the wrong thing would be? Yep. Would you like some help in sorting that out? I said, so the right thing to do, you got that in your mind? Yeah. Do you think you might start doing that tomorrow? I think indeed. That wrong thing, when are you going to stop doing that? I think I need to start pretty soon. Okay then, ready to have prayer? I never even heard what the right thing was, the wrong thing was. It really didn't matter. Now, I'm not saying counseling has to be that simple or the hot, but I'm saying if we start getting into the nitty-gritty, you know, when did this happen? Tell me more information. Sometimes we're almost like, I want to know more, nitty-gritty, ooey-gooey. Okay? Then we're getting into, well, that's me. I just like to know stuff. Okay? But if we're really trying to help them collaborate, work with the problem, it may happen in a little bit different way. Clergy normally, we go to Bible college and seminary to learn these 5 main things: preaching, teaching, counseling, evangelism, and authority. We take classes on these areas. But chaplains, I want you to hone your skills on these areas: listening, reading, self-discovery, help them find the issue, meeting their need, and it's not about me. Okay? I don't know of any seminary classes on that, okay? So it's kind of a new skill. Let's look at a different way of looking at spiritual gifts. Normally spiritual gifts, there's about 19 or 20 spiritual gifts in the scripture listed. Some of the main spiritual gifts most of you ministers are good at are preaching, teaching, and counseling, and those kind of gifts. You have honed those skills. You are professionals at it. God has blessed you with that gift. It's not bad. God's given you that gift. But there are certain gifts in the hospital setting that are more important. The gifts of mercy, the gift of helps, gifts of serving, gift of encouragement. How many have had classes on those? I haven't seen many classes on those. Those are really the kind of gifts that work well in the hospital setting, of that compassion, that listening, that kind of serving. Now, evangelism is not a bad thing in the hospital if the patient brings it up. Let's make this very clear. Evangelism is not what I come in the door trying to do. It's I'm coming in there to assess. What if I read the room, read the patient, read the need, and they open the door to a change in looking at God, relationship with God, relationship with them in heaven. If they open that door, I walk through the door. I don't kick the door down. Notice the difference? Evangelism happens. Change of life happens. And it will happen. I have, in my own experience and in my volunteer chaplains, it happened a lot. But they didn't kick the door in. They didn't bring it up. They read the room. They assessed the need. And when it was appropriate time, they simply led them down some paths to help make that decision. Again, I said, what if they have a local minister? Who needs to assess them in that? Their local minister. Who needs to help them walk through the door? But sometimes you're there, and they're not. So it's kind of like them asking for that timing to walk through that door. So let's look at this word tact. Breaking that down into timing. Asking the question, is this a good time? I need to see if this is appropriate topic for them. If I'm reading the room, I might see if this is appropriate or not. consent if they want to talk. Let's say they're talking about some marriage issue, depression issue, or whatever, and I ask a simple question, would you like to talk more about this? And they go, not really. Or, yeah. Simply that assessment helps us know whether they want to talk more of those words. Whether they're ready to hear more about God, church, change of life, those kind of things. Ask the question. So success in ministry can be counting the number of people we've converted, or it can be counting the number of people that we've helped in life. I wonder if sometimes we have turned more people away from the faith, not having appropriateness, not waiting for the right time, and maybe turn more people away. Seed planting and harvest. There's a certain patience, there's a certain out of a non-rushed presence. Change will happen when God gives the timing, and God is in control and not me. Remember that we said before, the patient is in the room, they're sick, they're not in control, they're not able to put the lock on the door, shut the door, keep anybody else or anybody walk in. Now let's tell another blooper of mine. I had a lot of bloopers, a lot of mistakes in my ministry. There was a man in our emergency room that was having a heart attack. His wife was there with him, and the ER doctor decided to send the patient down the hall to the heart catheterization lab to go with the wire from the groin artery to the heart to take out the blockage to stop the heart attack. The wife and I were walking behind the bed. The nurse was pushing the bed, and as she turned the corner to take the patient into the heart catheterization room, I said to the wife, "Okay, kiss him goodbye." You don't ever say in the hospital, "Goodbye." And the nurse caught it and said, "See you later." And I go, I know. I wish, folks, this was the first year of my ministry. It wasn't. It was the 13th year of my ministry. It was after I was already even training hospitals like this. Which means we all mess up. We all forget. Now, I wish to say that that was the last time I did that, but I did it again. When my daughter-in-law was in the hospital with our brand new grandson, 2 months old, he was having open heart surgery. He was on paralytic anesthesia. We were there for 36 hours. The baby didn't even know if we were there or not. I just said, "Let's go home. We're tired. Kiss him goodbye." And I go, "Larry, you're not getting this. What is wrong with you? Are you ever going to get this right?" You know why I spend so much time talking about my bloopers? Because you will do it. And why I spend so much time? Because I've had some volunteer chaplains of mine come sit in my office and go, "I'm not coming back next week." And I go, "Why?" "I just did something really stupid." And I go, "Join the club." "Oh, no. This is just not working out." And I've had some that never came back. Well, I don't know you about me and your theology standing, but I know who's behind that. And I know who got the best of them, because they were doing fantastic ministry. One little problem kept them from doing ministry. You know? And that could be that simple for you to think, "Oh, I messed up, I look foolish, I look crazy in front of these professionals here in the hospital." Well, I guarantee you, these nurses, these doctors have made their bloopers too. Okay? You're not the only one. And so be ready for when that day comes and you make your mistake that Larry told you, don't give up. Don't give in. Just learn from the blooper. If I'm this silly and I can't get it, then it's okay for you to be that way too. Let's talk about listening skills. Something that they tried to teach me in kindergarten and never got the chance to. What happens when people don't listen to you? Ladies, what happens when you go to the hairstylist and they don't listen to you? I told you to cut this much. I told you this color, you know? What happens when you go to a tax attorney and you told them you need to do taxes this way? Ministers' taxes are different. Listen to me. I need to be on this schedule. They don't listen to you. What happens when a doctor doesn't listen to you? I don't want that medicine, don't want that procedure, and they keep pushing it anyway. What happens when the chaplain's not listening to you, the patient? What if a patient, you ask the patient, "What would you like to pray about?" before I leave. Don't worry too much about my health, you know, I'm elderly. I want you to pray for my sons. I'm worried about my sons. So when the time of prayer comes, you pray, Lord, heal them, bless them, and you forget to pray for the sons. And they go, you know what, chaplains, they're not listening. Because you've asked, what would you like me to pray? There's certain things that are on their mind that are burdensome to them, and if we're not listening to that, we start praying about what we think. You know, sometimes we ask the question. If you were to take the word listen, those 6 letters, and unscramble that, I know you got it on your sheet there to cheat on me there, but what could you unscramble and that word come up to be? What else? Silent. Maybe that's another definition for listen. We can't listen unless we're silent. And we don't like silence. And we don't listen well. Because when I'm listening, then I'm also thinking what I'm going to say next. So I'm really not listening. And then I interrupt them because, oh, I got to get this in. I got to say that because that's so important. So I'm really not listening. If I were to say it's not about me, and I'm focusing in on them, then I'm making eye contact with them. I'm focusing. What does your grandchild do? Sitting in your lap, they go, grab ball. Look at me. Right? Oh, I'm listening. No, you're not. Your mind's way off here. They're like, look at me. Look at me. Look at me in the eye. And sometimes I think the patients could scream out, look at me. Look at me. Ask some open-ended questions. A closed-ended question would be answered with yes and no. Do you feel good today? No. Well, how do you feel? So questions of how and how's it going and what you're going through maybe could be an open-ended question. But tell me more about that. Ask them, what are you going to do about this problem? Touch is so important in our relationship. But there are certain kind of chaplains that are touch-me-not. There are certain patients that are touch-me-not. There are certain kind of chaplains that love hugging everybody. There are certain patients that love hugging everybody. What happens when you get two opposites? A chaplain that loves to hug and patients that don't love to hug. Then you don't hug them. How about a patient who wants a hug and a chaplain that doesn't hug? What do? You hug them. Because it's what? Again, it's not about me. It's about them. So a long time ago in my ministry, one of the manly men in my church had to teach me how to hug. My dad never hugged me, never taught me. My dad was a hugging type man, grew up in a home that didn't hug. So this man had to teach me how to hug. How to care for someone else in a manly way. There are certain things that I said I had to rub rough edges off of me in my character. To be a good chaplain, I had to do that. Some of those things had to work. But I'm reading the patient. Are you a hugger or not? Are you a hugger or not? Do you like a handshake? You want a high five? You want a hug? You want a one-arm hug? You want a two? You know, I'm reading touch. Where touch on the hand or the shoulder is just about always appropriate with every patient. It shows that tender love. But there's some other touch. I'm going to do a seminar with you one day that will talk about touch and talk about boundaries and talk about ethics and talk about morals and talk about touching and all these kind of things because it is a huge topic. And folks, listen to me clearly. We need to know our weakness. There are many men, maybe women too in ministry, falling morally. And we can do that kind of immoral thing even right there in the patient room. It's a very private moment. So we need to know our weakness. Okay? I need to know when I go, I'd like to hug that one. Okay? Are we being honest with ourselves? To know when we have needs not being met, then I need to be careful. I've had friends of mine in chaplain ministry had to be fired for inappropriate dealings with nurses and other staff. It happens in all kinds of ministries. So if I know my weakness, I know myself, I know what my needs are and what my needs aren't, I'll be able to be a godly man, appropriate man, in my place of ministry there in the hospital. But there are certain patients too who have inappropriate needs and staff. Okay? And we'll do a seminar. I'm going to do a seminar one day called 35 Predicaments. I will put you in 35 ministry predicaments, and you come up with what you need to do. And one of those is, in all these 35 I've been in my hospital ministry, what if there was some inappropriate language to you from a patient? How do you deal with that? Inappropriate gestures and suggestions from a patient. How do you deal with that? So there's a lot to learn about this appropriateness, about even touching. Touch is important. Touch may be necessary. We'll be very cautious in our touch, very godly in our touch. Next, we were created to listen. I think that's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much, listen in stereo, talk a little less. It's hard work. It takes a lot of practice, but it pays a lot of dividends, and it might even enhance your marriage. How about that? Well, how about this? How about ministers? Every next board meeting, next Sunday school class, next sermon, what if you were really listening and reading in on that? Rather than just a one-way, what if you really were tuning in on that small group or that person in your office? It would pay great dividends for that. But then there's some hard-to-read people. I am a poker-faced person. Like I said, when I was in that office with that chaplain talking about his theology, I was poker-faced. He had no clue I disagreed. I'm also a poker-faced patient. If you were in my room and you were the chaplain, and if you were sharing something inappropriate or some theology, some political thing, I would not correct you. I'm just a quiet little southern boy from Birmingham, Alabama, and I just kind of let people be, and I don't correct them, and I don't shame them. But when you leave my room, I might go, you know, but I wouldn't tell you that. A poker face. What if you don't read people easily, and you get with a poker face patient, and you go, oh, he really liked my evangelism. He was snacking on it. And when you leave the room, they go, who was that character in my room? Because they were poker-faced, because they don't tell you what they don't like. And you thought, man, I was making headway with him. And they go, don't ever let him in my room again. Right? But you thought you were making good ground, okay? But they might be poker-faced. Here's some of the problem. Half the world reads people easily and is intuitive. The other half are not. Now this half is females. The females in this room, you already know you read better than your males, don't you? We didn't have to tell you that. You're intuitive. You pick up on stuff. And if we 2x4 in front of the head, just don't see it, right? But then there are left-handed people, basically ambidextrous people, who are more intuitive. They read better than right-handed. And then there's 2 different kind of people in this world. Some are intuitive by way of their personality, and others are not. So you get this group together of males, right-handed, less intuitive, and they're going to be a chaplain, or they're going to be a minister, or they're going to be a counselor, they're going to be a school teacher, and they don't read people well. Well, what I've just interpreted for you in the male, right-handed, less intuitive, I've just described for you the CIA, the FBI, and the Secret Service. They're basically male, basically right-handed, basically less intuitive. But there's hope. What do they teach those guys? I want you to go in this room and interpret the room and come out. They come out and they go, tell me the 3 different paintings on the wall. What was on the wall? I don't know. What was the time on the clock? I don't know. Tell me the 4 people's names over there. Well, I think there was a Bob and a Jim. What were their relationships? Oh, I think this. Were they angry or sad or mad or glad or what? I don't know. And so they go back and do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again, until you get it. Because if you're going to protect the president, if you're going to protect the governor, if you're going to be the person, you've got to read this crowd. So I'm saying to you as chaplains who may be male, right-handed, and less intuitive, there's hope for you. And the hope is, the next time you go in a patient's room, here's what I want you to do. Look. Observe. I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy. But look. What time's on the clock? What are the pictures in the room? What's going on with the patient? What's the mood? When you first hit the door, is it like, I don't want him here, I want him here? But before you didn't pick it up. But now, pick it up. Take it in. Read the Bible. Now here's my warning to the ladies who are left-handed and intuitive. You pick up so much stuff. You just see it. You go to Walmart and go, I bet she went through a divorce and doesn't know it. I mean, you're just reading this stuff. You have antennas that just pick up on everything. So it's like, chill. You know, don't pick up too much stuff. Some of it may be misinterpreted, okay? But find this balance again. So here's what we're going to do in the room. I want you to know in the room what's going on. Are they sad, glad, afraid, worried? What materials are they reading? Time magazine? The Gideon Bible in the drawer? Or their own personal, tattered, well-worn Bible? Are they reading a certain book? Are there balloons? Are there cards? Are there flowers? Or no balloons, no cards, no flowers, no sign of any visitor? Pick up, okay? What kind of clothes are they in? In their gown or in their regular clothes? Did they just come into the hospital or ready to leave? Did they kind of grimy and smelly, kind of wish I gotta get out of here feeling? Or look refreshed? Are there tubes or wires, machines? What is their name? What are the relationships of people in this room? What are the moods? What are the vibes? And you're kind of going, Larry, I don't know. Well, some of it I think we just need to glean a little more. Go to the next level. Pick up on it. So that when you leave the room, you feel like you've got a handle on it. Any questions with that kind of reading before we move on? Yes, sir.
How do you help me in my marriage?
Help me and I'll help you.
My wife is that female. She's not left-handed, but she's very into it.
Yep.
And sometimes it really burns me up. Is she ever wrong?
Everybody can be wrong, even in their intuition. Yes.
Okay.
But I tell you, not too many times.
Yeah, I know.
They're usually pretty good. And here's the blessing of the opposites attract.
Yeah.
That we need each other. Okay? They see things, they warn us, but they have maybe an intuitive brain. We have a logical brain. They need a logical brain. We need their intuitive brain. That's why the blending of chaplains, just say two chaplains are visiting one patient, and one visit one day, one the next day, or even together. What'd you see? That's what I saw. Okay? And that's why the beauty is of even having volunteer chaplains. One's on Monday, one's on Tuesday, Wednesday, get different, because that patient needs different. So it's the beauty. So everybody is worthy to be in God's calling in the chaplaincy. God knew I was this messed up when He called me to be a chaplain, right? He knew He was going to have to rub some rough edges and work on me. I'm still amazed that He called me into ministry. But He did, and in the process, we learned. And we have done good, and we've done bloopers all along the way. So, yeah, they can be wrong.
Question.
Yes, sir.
You are a chaplain, and let's say you visit a female patient, and you notice some inappropriateness. Now, this is a private room. If you are unease with this, and you to visit again, is it possible then that you can request for a nurse to be with you in that room?
Or another chaplain.
Another chaplain?
Yeah. Or your wife can come that day to help you. You know, there's ways, or I'm not the right person to visit you. I'm going to send another chaplain because I've already noticed there's some vibes going on between. I don't say that to the patient. But I'm saying to myself, there's something going on, I don't know what it is, I don't feel comfortable, so I'm going to allow another chaplain. We have to. Did you know that if you were a nurse licensed working in this hospital, and if you felt an uncomfortable situation with a patient, you didn't have to go in there and deal with it? If you were a doctor and dealing with a certain patient, you don't have to go do it. Same thing is true of the chaplain. Just because we're the chaplain on the day, and we feel something inappropriate or out of character, we can ask someone else to do that. Very good boundaries. That's why that class I do next on boundaries helps understand my role, what I'm responsible for.
Did you say that chaplains have access to more personal information than clergy?
Oh, much of the patient?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
But why do we get to?
Get that, yeah.
Because we work for the hospital, we're wearing their badge, and the minister doesn't. Yeah. That's the main thing. So a nurse can't share that with their local clergy because they haven't gone through the HIPAA training, and the hand washing training, and the protocol training, and what we say and what we don't say. Yeah, that's the key. Here's some jargon, some spiritualese, some different kind of terms that we all use that maybe patients don't understand. And you use it anyway. Now, I know you use it in your sermons. Use it in your church. Use it in your Bible studies. Because most of the people in your church understand, or maybe not. Maybe somebody new doesn't. Take this kind of level when you're in a patient's room. Maybe talk to them on a spiritual, maybe an 8th grade level, 7th, 8th grade level, as if you were talking to your child or grandchild about the spiritual topic. Now, if this is your member, your parishioner, then maybe you already know where they are. But I'm talking about cold calling. You don't know these patients, they're brand new to you. Take your religious terms and knock them down some notches to basic language, especially in your prayers. If you were to record your prayers and play it back to your spouse, she would say to you, and you said that in front of the patient? Because you don't get it. You pray that prayer Sunday morning and so often, and in your prayers, and while you're driving down the car, and it's just natural. And I've noticed many chaplains, as I shadow and go around with them, they pray prayers, and I go, what did that mean to you? Well, it meant this. I go, do you know if the patient picked? They already told you they haven't been to church in 30 years. So maybe they've forgotten those terms or never knew those terms. So it's not that the terms are bad. We're not communicating. So if you want to communicate, you be on a level where we change some of those terminologies so they can pick up where you are. Or say the term, explain the term. Better yet, you've taught them something. But sometime in a prayer, we don't want a teachy prayer, explain, So it's we need to make things as simple as we can so that we can help them. What do we do about a patient who we don't know where they're coming from? Let's say a patient says, I'm Buddhist. Well, let's say a patient says, I'm Catholic and you're not Catholic. Or a patient's Jewish, you're not Jewish. Or a patient that's agnostic something. There are books out there this thick that you can go read about every religion of the world, right? You could become an expert on that if you want to do it. And I'm saying, don't. Here's what I want you to do. The expert is in the bed. What if the patient says, I'm Baptist, and we go to our Baptist book, oh, Baptists believe this, and they go, no, I'm Baptist, but I don't believe that. Where'd you get that from? Or I'm Buddhist, and we go to our Buddhist book, oh, I bet Buddhists believe this, and they go, not me. So forget the book. Talk to the patient. So what do you believe? How have you come to that conclusion? Now I mean in a real, honest, wanting to know, not judgmental tone. Not, how'd you come to that? But rather, tell me about that. You're Buddhist? Tell me how you come. What have you learned through that? Honestly wanting to learn. Well, let's say even the atheist. I'm an atheist. Really? How did you come to that? Well, I used to go to church and this happened, and that Christian disappointed me and that pastor disappointed me. You know what my response is? You know what? I've had Christians disappoint me too. Really? Yeah, big time. In fact, I think we're really communicating. I think we agree on a lot more, Not that I say I'm atheist, but I've had churches hurt me. Christians hurt me. People let me down. So then we connected, didn't we? I didn't just go, you're atheist, why? Everybody's got to pray. You don't go to church. Everybody's got to go to church. What's Matthew? We could do that quite easily, can't we? But what if we sincerely sat down and asked them where they're coming from and why they got there? And they told us their story. And we hurt with them of where they are and help them collaborate with where they need to be. See the different focus? I don't know that I've probably in my lifetime maybe have led 10 people to the Lord. But in my lifetime, I have led hundreds, if not thousands, back to church. Just been my ministry. Just, you fell away and you used to believe, or you were Christian enough, and help them along that journey back through there. I feel that's my ministry, just connecting them back with the Lord, with the divine, with church, with their roots, to help them get where they need to be. Then we just need to read the people if they want to talk about their faith or what they want to talk about. And let's ask this tough question. If you were to name for me right now a group of people, a spiritual group that you don't like, I mean you really don't like them. You don't get along with them at all. Maybe even that's what you used to be, and now you've enlightened and you've gotten to another level, but you don't like them. And then you go in the patient's room and there's one of them. And you're called on to minister to them. Now don't tell me what that group is, but you're thinking of it right now. You have a tough time. It's honestly difficult. You don't agree with them, you don't get along, you don't believe like they do, and here you're called on to be the chaplain for them in that room. I want you to look at that the same way as if you were the patient in the bed and the opposite, your group were coming in, you know. You were kind of feeling that, oh no. I know how that would feel if they were the chaplain of my hated denomination, disliked denomination, and now they're coming in to minister to them. That same kind of gracious spirit of kind of coming into where they need to be. So let's get the picture. What if we set a schedule and we had everybody on a day, and everybody had a day they came in as a volunteer chaplain, and on Monday the Baptist chaplain came in, Tuesday the Catholic, Wednesday the Jewish, Thursday the Pentecostal, Friday the Mormon, Saturday the New Age, and Sunday the Seventh-day Adventist. And you were the patient in the bed for 7 days. And they all came in and shared their background. You would be confused, you would be angry, you would be calling administration going, who allows them to come in there and push this stuff on? But here's the catch, folks. Here's what you will tell me, but it's okay if I do it, because I've prayed about it and I know this is the right thing. They've all said the same thing. I know where I'm coming from. This is where the Lord has led me. I really believe it's the right. And I'll say it's the right thing for you. But if you were to share it, if all 7 of those shared where they're coming from, the patient would be outraged and they would have a right to it. Okay? But what if one of those 7 read the room and connected where they were from? And then they go, yeah, that's what I believe too. And they bonded. Okay? That's why I love this multiplicity of different denominations. Because we as a team are going to say, I've said this many times to my volunteers, you know what, I'm not this, but one of my volunteers, you are, will you go in and visit this patient? You'd be perfect. Now, I might not like that denomination, but you know what, that connection was perfect. Okay? That's taken a lot of years, folks, to get me to that place. Just to learn that not about me and that selflessness to be able to go that way. But I think that's good for the patient. Let's finish this sentence. Question? Let's finish this sentence. In my visits, I like to.
Listen.
Finish that in your head. What's that?
Listen.
I'm sorry?
Listen.
Listen, okay? So let's just even to yourself, think about what you like to do. Because I've heard some chaplains say this. In my visits, I like to talk. In fact, a lot of volunteers come to my office, Larry, I want to be a volunteer chaplain. And I go, why? Because I like talking to people. And I go, good. You like listening to people? I think so. I like talking. I go, good. I'm glad you're comfortable with yourself. Because I'm not comfortable with talking. I'm glad you are. Yeah? So I go, okay. So obviously when you go in a room, you're going to talk. Or the next person says, I like to joke. I love to tell jokes. And I've had volunteer chaplains come to me, and they'll tell me 5 jokes You know, before we even start a meeting like this, don't tell me 5 jokes. And I go, I bet you like telling jokes, don't you? Yeah! I go, do patients like hearing your jokes? Oh, they love my jokes. And I go, really? Do all patients love your jokes? Oh yeah, they tell me they love my jokes. And I go, just to tell you to get out of the room? You know, I don't tell them that, you know. But I go, did you know in studying personalities that there's 25% of the world who don't get jokes and don't like jokes? Well, I didn't know that. And I go, yeah. And in fact, opposites attract. I go, does your spouse like jokes? No. Okay. That's showing you right there. Not everybody likes jokes. Because so they're going to think, everybody likes my jokes. Well, here's one of the problems. If I like to cheer up people, if I measure my success in a chaplain ministry by cheering up people, if I go in a room and I see a patient sad, and if I go, hey, let me tell you this joke, so I get you to smile. Then you smile, and I go, oh, good, successful. I got you to smile, so I'm successful. Well, what if they just were told they had cancer or heart disease, and they need just to cry? And when you leave, they're still crying. Well, I'm not successful because I didn't tell them my joke and I didn't get them to smile. Success isn't their smile. Success may be the fact that I helped them cry. Oh, but I like people to smile. And it's about me again. And it isn't about the patient. It isn't about their need. So what if the person says, I like to witness. I'm an evangelist. God has given me this little gift. In fact, I made a promise to God that every person I meet, I will share my faith with. Then we're going to have a problem. Because not every patient wants to hear that. But if we're reading the room, and it's the right moment, and the tact and timing all is there, then that'll be good. Or I like to talk about my church. I like to tell them what services we have. I think we have a great church, and I want everybody to go there. Then we're going to have a problem. Well, I like to talk about politics, you know. And I am this, and I'm that. And I kind of like to tell people what I think, so we're going to have a problem. I've had chaplains even say, I don't think I'm an effective chaplain unless I spend at least 30 minutes. Well, then that may be too much for some people. So we need to gauge that by what they're able to do. And so how long should a visit be? And I say somewhere between 3 seconds and 3 hours. Read the room. Sometimes, was it a good time to talk? Nope. Okay. That's good. Leave with a smile. And sometimes they're like, oh, can you stay longer? And I may not have longer, but I stay a little longer because they need it. So sometimes just read the room, listen to the Spirit, listen to your own body. How about listening to your own body? What if your body says, I need to go to the bathroom, and you're not listening? Or what if your body is in pain? What if you're sick? What if you have a stomachache? What if you have a headache? And you're really not in tune, you're really not listening. And so what if you could say to yourself or to the patient, okay, I need to go now, I wish I could spend more time with you. And you don't talk about your headache, you don't talk about your stomachache, you don't talk about having to go to the bathroom, but you're just saying, I need to go now, and you close the visit down, and you go take care of yourself. There's a whole ministry in self-care. There's a whole seminar I'm going to do one day in taking care of yourself. You know why I did that? Because at age 37, I was such a broken man, emotionally and physically, I had to resign my pastorate because I had burned the candle at both ends. Worked 90, 100 hours a week, trying to be there for everybody and fix everybody, and I was so broken, I couldn't fix anybody. Okay, so again, my blooper, you can't burn yourself out. You have to minister to self so that you can be there for someone else. I want everyone to know, I want you to be true to your faith. That I don't want you to ever cross a line on your faith, go against your faith, jeopardize your faith, do anything that would be anything that less than following what you believe. So let's say a patient asks you to do something spiritually. Let's say you're a minister who believes in immersion baptism. And since we don't have a baptismal pool here at the hospital, we would have to do sprinkling, and they wanted to be baptized. And you go, I only do immersion. Then I want you to get another chaplain to do that, okay? But if you go, I don't do anything but immersion, then don't. Follow your faith. Or you felt like you were jeopardizing something of your faith and doing maybe the Holy Eucharist or anointing or whatever, you felt like, no, this is not good, I don't believe in that, then don't do it. But then refer to another chaplain who can meet the patient's needs in doing that. I want you to be here for everyone, again being gracious to everyone in their faith, where they're coming from. You notice in the last few hours we've been together, I have not told you my denomination. Guess what? I won't. Why? Am I embarrassed of my denomination? No. But as soon as I do, there's going to be one group that goes, well. And another group that goes, Larry, high five, man! Okay, we're buddies. Where's that going to get us? Nowhere. So why are we going to do that in the patient's room? I haven't done that with you. And I won't do that with you. I am proud of my denomination. But where's it going to get us? You know, it just is barriers and boundaries that doesn't need to be there. Same is true for your patient visit. Now, what about this? Here is a patient asking you, but Larry, I like you. You're a great chaplain. Where do you go to church? And I go to church in Port Charlotte, Florida on Midway Boulevard. Well, there's 3 on Midway Boulevard, and I didn't tell them which one. And I don't care if it's the church I don't like that they think I go to. Because it's not about me. But then they go, but I'm looking for a church. Please help me look for a church. What kind of church should I go to? I'll tell them the same thing that I did when I was a local pastor. They visit on Sunday morning, I visit in their home on Monday night, and I go, what kind of church are you looking for? Really? I know you landed at our church Sunday morning. What do you look? What kind of worship? What kind of preaching? What kind of programs? And they would tell me, and I would go, you know, honestly, we don't have it. I'd love to have you in my church. But you know what? This is our style of worship. This is our style of preaching, and we have these programs. But there are these 3 churches in town that you may not know of that have that. And they go, you don't want me? No, I want you happy. Okay? Now, if you go to those 3 churches and don't like that, come back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But you can't make me like you want. Okay? You know? So I want you happy. Same thing for the patient. Tell me what you look. What kind of style of worship? What kind of preaching? What kind of programs you want? And they tell me, and I go, you know what? There's 3 of those churches in town. Now, what if one of those was my church? I would not put a star by that church. Right? Or if a church I didn't like, I wouldn't put a skull and crossbones by that church. Okay? Go, here's some places you can look for, because you've told me what you're looking for. So I can help them find a place of worship and get them connected with that. In hospital chaplaincy training, in our CPE classes, clinical education classes, they teach us what we call verbatims. We go to a patient's room and we write up everything we can see about that patient, and we try to come back and just explore what we need to learn from that. And I think that would be good for you if you were to go make a visit and then at least tell it to your spouse, tell it to a friend, or write it out and get them to help critique your visit. By way you're saying, I want to be an excellent chaplain. I want to learn. And what we find in these CPE programs is we're saying stuff we don't even hear ourselves say. We type it up, hand it to the class, and then they go, Larry, where'd you say that? And we go, what? I said that? No, I typed it up. I didn't remember saying that. And so there's ways that we can learn how to do a better visit in that. We're going to take a break now. We've just talked about at this session the ministry of presence, about the routine visit, self-discovery, good questions, listening and reading, and being true to your faith and gracious. Let's take a break, and then we'll talk about HIPAA, standard precautions, corporate compliance, how hospitals get paid, and how this program is good for all. Let's take a break.